Hey, it's Jane from the Compassion Project and Sarah.
Hello.
I am so excited to be here with this beautiful girl. Sarah is my niece, and the first time I met Sarah was the day she was born. I
Oh,
was there for that moment, and I will never forget it. Sarah is unbelievable. I am so proud of you and all you've accomplished in your life. She is a beautiful soul with a heart to serve others. And you always have. And in my opinion, Sarah has always been wise beyond her years. And when she was 12, Sarah had a dream, and she made a decision that one day she would attend Harvard University. And in 2018, she graduated from Harvard University with her master's in divinity, which is incredible. I'm all about the big dream, and I just think it's amazing at such a young age. You made that decision and you followed through. So that's incredible. So Sarah is a researcher. She is a spiritual counselor and an officiant. So for weddings and funerals. And she's also the founder and CEO of her own company, Science of Connectedness, which we're definitely going to talk about that. And she is from Seattle, Washington, where she lives with her husband, Levi. And we're also going to talk about what's happening in her city. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm excited. So with her Science of Connectedness, Sarah provides spiritual support online and in person. Well, I guess not right now. And she does spiritual counseling, and the weddings and funerals. So to sum it up, she wants to help people better cultivate connectedness in their lives.
Yeah.
And we all need connectedness right now.
Yeah.
Such a crazy time. So welcome. I'm super excited that you're here. So yeah, maybe just share people what happened when you started to realize that this global pandemic was a big deal. That we were going to have to make some changes.
Yeah. I mean, so my husband Levi, you mentioned him. So we were living in Washington, D.C. actually up until we moved. We had been making plans to move to Seattle for several months, and then we moved on February 26th. And so just a few months ago, and it was just at the time where they're like, oh, there's some cases in the States now, and the first one was thought to be in Seattle, and I mean, now there's evidence that it was elsewhere, but the first one was thought to be in Seattle, and we're kind of like, oh, great, but our flights are booked, the moving van's booked, everything is set up, so, we're gonna go take the flight. We go, should we wear masks? We decided not to at that point. We were kind of like, oh, I don't think it's that big of a deal yet. We just weren't sure.
Yeah.
Within a few days of arriving in Seattle, it started to become apparent that this was a big deal. And I remember my parents were able to come down from Canada still because the border wasn't open. Sorry, it was still open. It wasn't closed yet. And they came down, brought some furniture, helped us move in, and everything was great, except my mom and I went to Costco on a Tuesday afternoon, and I have never seen a busier Costco. And it was a Tuesday afternoon, and we were like, we had to park at the other side of the parking lot by the gas station. Like, it was so far away that we felt like, where's the Costco? It was so far. So we walk in, and my mom had the wherewithal to ask the guy at the front door, like, is this normal? Like, is this maybe it's just a tiny Costco for a really large area, like what's going on? And he was like, oh no, this isn't normal. And I was like, okay, so people are panicking. That's kind of what it was. And I just had to go to Costco because I'd moved and I needed food. Like, we couldn't bring a lot with us. And so we were like, wow, this is a big deal. And so we just started to notice little things like that. And then within a week, like, my parents left on the Sunday, and Levi and I ran some errands on the Wednesday, and by the Thursday, we were like, I don't think we should be going out anymore.
So was that around March
8th?
March 8th.
I think, March 8th, 8, 9, 10, no, maybe the 11th. Yeah, because my parents left on the 8th, and then it would have been just a few days later that we were like, we shouldn't be going out anymore. And part of it is because Seattle was like the biggest epicenter of it at the beginning, or at least the known epicenter of the United States outbreak, if epicenter is the right word.
I don't think I knew that it really started there. Were there a lot of cases there early on?
Yeah, so Seattle had the first confirmed I think, okay, I might have my facts wrong, so nobody quote me
That's
on this.
okay.
I think Seattle had the first confirmed case and also the first confirmed death.
Oh, wow.
However, they've gone back and tested some people who were sick in December in California, I think, and found that they actually had it. So it was earlier in the United States, in other states, but the first known publicly talked about cases were in Seattle.
Wow. So what's happening in Seattle now?
Seattle has done a really good job. Washington State as a whole, Governor Jay Inslee, he's done a really good job, I think, at least, and especially compared to where, like, we used to live in Massachusetts and then in DC, on the East Coast, and they're both having bigger outbreaks, and so we're really happy with what's happened. Like, it's not a good situation. We've been sheltering in place, is what they call it. There's been an order. I think. Let me think.
So it's not called social distancing there? Is it shelter
in place? Shelter in place. It's an order that was put out on March 23rd, Monday, saying that everyone had to stay home and social distance unless you worked in an essential job, and that was grocery stores and healthcare professionals. Basically, was it. Otherwise, you have to stay home, and if you can work from home, work from home, and if you can't, you can't. And it was, which has, it's caused a lot of devastation financially for a lot of families, but it's also saved a lot of lives, because Seattle County, King County is where Seattle is in Washington State, and I was looking at the numbers this morning. I think it's just over 7,500 cases. And 529 deaths. So it's like quite large until you look at somewhere like New York that has had tens of thousands, maybe over 100. I don't know exactly how many cases New York has had so far, but the death toll has been astronomical there.
I know.
And so in comparison, Seattle's done a really good job of social distancing, and we've done what's called flattening the curve. Which is good. And so it hasn't been easy, but I'm proud of the city. And I'm proud
everyone wearing masks there?
Everyone is required, or at least requested, to wear masks. So I sewed some for me and Levi the other day. Can't say that I ever would have expected in my life to be like, oh, which mask looks better with my outfit today? And then I feel so flaky. I feel so flaky because I'm like, there's a global pandemic and I'm worried about like which mask looks better. But I don't know. I sewed a couple options, and no, we go outside and we wear our masks, especially when we go to grocery stores and things. And we're very careful. We wash our hands, put hand sanitizer, put it on before we take it off. We hand sanitize, and then we hand sanitize after in case there's germs on that.
Wow.
We're very, very careful. Maybe a little paranoid, but definitely careful about it. And but it makes me feel like I'm contributing. I actually wrote a blog post about it on my website, Science of Connectedness. I also included photos of a pattern that my friend created.
I saw the picture with you with your mask on.
Yeah. So I created a blog post about that, just talking about how I really feel like in this time of great disconnection, where we're not able to hang out in person with our family and friends, wearing a face mask is something that can cause you to feel like you're cultivating connectedness with other people and a community, because I feel like every time I put that on, I'm protecting other people. Like, I'm doing it partly for myself, but partly for them, because there's a possibility that I'm carrying this and have no idea.
Yeah.
Because some people don't have any symptoms and they're still spreading the disease or the virus. And so
that's the hard part.
Yeah, and so I feel like wearing face masks is one of the best ways to cultivate social connectedness right now, in a really disconnected time.
Yeah. Wow. It's crazy. So, so you have your website, the Science of Connectedness. I'd love to share a little bit more about what you do with that, because like we say, this is a time when people need connection. And I think more than ever, we really feel it. And there's a lot of lonely people out there. And I don't know if I don't think you saw, but there was that interview I did with that Taylor Grimes on his ship,
Yeah.
61 days in a little cabin, not being able to talk to anyone or physical
Yeah.
nothing. And I thought, even like me or your mom, my sister, Lori, we live in beautiful homes. And I thought, wow, it's still hard, the social distancing, but I can't imagine what you could say to someone that's alone, like really alone.
Yeah.
That's where the struggle really is.
No, it is a real struggle because humans, we are meant to be social creatures. We are not meant to survive on our own. Our children need to be raised for a long time with other people. They can't just, okay, goodbye, survive on your own like a lot of animals do. We are meant to be social. We're meant to work together to get our food, to get all our basic needs, and have been, social creatures for our whole evolutionary experience. And so to now be in this time when we can't be physically social, interacting with people, it's really tough, especially, even from a scientific perspective. When we hug someone, we get a release of oxytocin, and that oxytocin makes us feel really good, and we can't do that right now. But we're also so lucky to be living in this age of technology, and like I'm able to talk to you in my hometown and see your face. And I haven't read the research, or if there is research on whether oxytocin is released in the same way when this kind of stuff happens, but even to maintain those social connections a little bit through phone calls and video chat and everything like that is so important. I think obviously it's tough because there are people who don't have access to, like, people who are low socioeconomic status and homeless and really struggling, like, even more with that social connection right now. But I'm hopeful that there's a lot of programs out there that can help. Help people.
And do you do for Science of Connectedness? What do you do or offer for people? Is there one-on-one like this? Do you do?
Yeah. So maybe I'll backtrack a little bit and so while I was doing my Master of Divinity at Harvard, I had the privilege of studying all different religions. Most Master of Divinity study, Christianity or a specific religion, and I got to study all different religions, and I specifically focused on a growing number of people called religious nuns, which is spelled like religious Nones, nuns, like none of the above, basically, is what. And it means the people on a census, the people on a census who would say, oh, what religion are you? They put, I'm none of the above. They don't fit into Christianity or Buddhism or Islam or, any of the traditional religions. Realize that as humans, we have our physical health. We all know about that. We got to exercise and keep our bodies healthy. We have our mental health. We're starting to talk about that more as a society, about the necessity of having good mental health and the struggles that people have with depression and anxiety and other mental health issues. But we aren't really talking yet a lot about spiritual health. And I really see that as a 3-part thing. And if one is out of whack, the others kind of go out too. And people who are not traditionally religious often don't know how to fulfill those spiritual needs in their lives. And so when I graduated, I created this company, Science of Connectedness, to help provide spiritual care services. And they are open to anybody, but I specifically focus on the group of people who are not religious. And I meet them where they're at. So if they get their spirituality through nature, we talk about nature. If they get it through book club, we talk about book club. They don't have to be going to church. We don't have to talk about God. I meet them where they're at with their needs and help people cultivate their spirituality and their connectedness, is what I call it, in their lives. And so I do that. I do offer wedding and funeral officiating, which right now is basically on hold. But I also do spiritual counseling and what I call connectedness coaching, which is just a little bit more of a structured approach. And I do that almost primarily through video chat, actually, and I always have. And so it has translated over to this pandemic situation fairly well because I'm still able to connect with my clients, which has been
Wow.
nice. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's amazing. I have to say, I know about science of connectedness and what, and you graduating Masters of Divinity, but I didn't know that it was religious nun. Is it nuns or nuns?
Nuns, as in,
No,
it sounds the same as
nuns.
Catholic nuns.
Yeah. I think that's,
It's a play on words. Yeah.
yeah, but I think it's incredible because I think a lot of people are kind of lost in that. And if you
Yeah.
can meet them exactly where they are, what are the three things? You said there's three
Um, three
of the,
parts of my website, you mean? Or to my
oh, I thought you said there was three, the science of connectedness areas where people,
Oh, so I maybe I talk about I all of this kind of started years ago when I wrote an article that got published in my undergrad where I suggested and offered a new definition of spirituality. And in that, I said spirituality is a feeling of connection to something greater. And I
yeah.
called that connectedness with a capital C. So spirituality is connectedness. And people cultivate that in 4 categories,
Oh,
which
okay.
is the first is through a relationship with ourselves. So that's like knowing who I am, having a purpose in life, having meaning in life for myself. The second is with our communities, which is, one thing that we're all really struggling with right now, I think.
Right.
And the third is with nature and our environment. And so that's really important to a lot of people in their spirituality. And the fourth one is a relationship with what I call like your orientation with the transcendent. So for a lot of people, that's God. But for some people, that's love, capital L, or the universe, or universal energy, or, it depends on the person. So it's kind of those 4 together create people's spirituality. Before you were talking, I was saying spiritual health, mental health, physical health is maybe the
Oh,
3
that's what it was.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
So I really focus on spiritual health. I let people, I will work with clients who are struggling with depression, and I'll say, I'm not going to talk to you about your medication. You talk to your psychiatrist about that or your doctor about that. But I imagine that working with me, you might go back to them and not want to be on as many medications anymore because you're actually going to feel better. But I'm not going to mess with any of that because I trust professionals.
Yeah.
And I'm not the one that's doing the mental health, physical health stuff. I'm doing the spiritual health. But when you get that in alignment, everything else kind of gets into more alignment too, I find. So
I think that's amazing. And I really, because right now, there's a lot of people really, really struggling with depression. I mean, a lot of people that were already kind of on the edge. And to know that and be aware of those 4 things, so they, even if they can get 1 or 2, right? Like go for a walk in nature, connecting with nature, and what it was, or a higher power of something, right? Whether you can listen to a YouTube or something that gives you some kind of, I don't know, connected to a higher or
yes,
love. And
absolutely. Just no, it's okay. Like
I forget.
finding a way to connect with yourself, your community, your environment, and the transcendent in some way. But even if you can just find one of those to improve right now, so the connectedness with community is suffering, but maybe you can get out for a walk in nature for 5 minutes a day or even more if you can. That will kind of help balance it just to get people through. Or finding alternative ways to have community right now or feel connectedness with community, like having awareness when you put on your face mask that is creating connection because you're helping other people. Things like that can actually cultivate connectedness and spiritual health in our lives if we do it with awareness.
Okay, I have to admit I've never worn a mask because it makes me really uncomfortable, but I don't really go out like Ed does it.
Well,
No.
I think that at some point, like when it hits a certain threshold, you actually will feel uncomfortable without a mask on. Because if I were to go into a grocery store right now, I would get so many dirty looks in the Seattle area of like, why aren't you wearing a mask? And some places will even be like, sorry, please wear a mask or don't come in. And so when it hits that threshold, I feel uncomfortable with the idea of not having a mask on.
Yeah.
And you do get used to it. It's not comfortable though. Physically, it's more comfortable to breathe through something.
Yeah.
And I think what I've heard about my hometown, Kelowna, where you live, is that not that many people are wearing masks yet. And partly it's
Yeah.
because there hasn't been that big of an outbreak there from what I've heard. And so right now the mask wearers are standing out more, but at some point, hopefully the threshold will tip in the other direction.
I have a mask and I will wear it, but I choose to stay home right now.
Well, I mean, honestly, staying home's even better.
There you
Staying
go.
home's even better.
So, and the other thing that I think is really, I love to talk about it, that you got a dog, because
Yes.
I think it's really interesting. There's a surge in people getting pets now,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? And so now, did you get the dog because you're at home and social distancing and it's the right?
Not really, actually. It's funny. Like it sort of worked out. It worked out perfectly. But we started looking into getting a rescue back in September, and then we were signed up with a rescue organization, just waiting for the right dog. And then we realized that we were going to be moving, and then we were going away for Christmas, and we just said, we need to put this on hold and wait until we get to Seattle. And so we got to Seattle, and just for fun, I started looking at dogs online, and I found the perfect dog for us, and we went and met him, and we were going to get him in a week because he was a very young puppy, and we were waiting for him to grow up a little bit. But the next day, the shelter in place got ordered, and the woman who had him just texted us saying, can you please come today?
Oh, wow.
Because I don't know if you're going to be able to come after today, because you need to stay home after this. The shelter in place is going to be, in place.
Wow.
And so we're suddenly like, oh my gosh, we have to go to Petco. I had an order from Amazon coming, but Amazon was so slow. I had to go to the pet store and just wear my mask and get all this stuff. And so 2 days after we met Diego, we had him in our home, which was a very quick turnaround. But for us, we'd been talking about getting a dog for 6 months and had been waiting till we moved. And so it wasn't that big of a switch for us. It wasn't just like, oh, now that this is all happening and we're staying home, we should get a dog. But I think I may have started looking, like once we got to Seattle, I think I was going to wait a little bit longer before we got a dog. And I started looking earlier because we were just home all the time. I think had we been exploring and sightseeing, I mean, we haven't even been to Pike Place Market. Like everything shut down before we had a chance. Like we live in this city and haven't seen any of the touristy things.
It must be so hard because you just moved there and then you're like not allowed to go out.
Well, and then they're like, okay, we'll get takeout from your favorite restaurants. I'm like, I don't have a favorite restaurant. I don't know any of the restaurants here. So it's been an interesting experience, but Diego has made it so wonderful. He's been such a joy to have, and I'm so glad that I did look and that we did get him, and because honestly, having a little coronavirus puppy has been amazing. It really helped with my spiritual mental health too. It's just like he gets us up at a regular time every day, and he keeps us going, and has quite a routine, so it's good.
Well, when you said you hug people and you get oxytocin released, it probably happens with animals too. You get that.
It does. Yeah.
You can almost feel it when you hug them, right? So anyway, it's amazing. I'd love to see her. I don't know if you can go get her, but
I can go get her.
Before you go get her, I'm going to ask you one more thing.
Yeah.
Then we'll sign up. But you can go get Diego. I'd love to see her.
Sure.
What one thing will you never take for granted again after this?
I think being able to cross an international border to see my family.
Oh.
Yeah. It's already been tough living in the States away from my family who I'm really close with. But having the border closed has been really hard because we moved to Seattle. A big part of it was so we could be in the closest American city to my family, because my husband is American and he works in a job that requires being in the States. And so we were going to be, only a 5-hour drive, and suddenly the border closed. And so I will never take for granted that open border again.
It's like the freedom. It's having freedom.
Yeah. The freedom to be, I will eventually be have dual citizenship. I'm in the process right now. But even with that, like, it's just, I didn't even think about the fact that border could close until it happened.
It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
So look at Jenny, my daughter, your cousin in Darwin. No flights in and out. Like she can't come home. If something happened, we can't go there. It's a really weird feeling.
It is. It's really weird.
Perfect answer.
Yeah, well, thanks. I will go get Diego and we'll end on a lighter note with him.
Awesome. I am having so much fun interviewing her. She's amazing. Oh my goodness. And I do believe that dogs really, truly help people through this time. So I'm excited to see you. And whoever's on, I'm glad you're still watching. We'll see you. And I'll put up, who's it? Oh, Colleen said hi. Hey, Colleen. Thanks for watching.
Hi.
And then Colleen said hi to her, and she has it. Oh,
here's Diego. He was just sleeping, so he's a little scruffy. But he's
cute. What kind of dog is he?
He's a Havanese puppy. And there we go. I don't know if
Aww.
he is so dark colored, and it's hard to see on the screen.
He's a Havanese purebred?
Yeah, he is. We were looking at rescues for a long time, but Levi is so allergic to dogs that we couldn't find one that would be hypoallergenic, and so then we found these Havanese puppies for sale, and we thought, well, okay.
Aww. I'm glad you brought him on. And Sarah, thank you so much. I'm going to put here her website, and I'll put it in the comments. It's incredible. Take
that little caramel cross. Hello.
There's going to be a lot of dogs named after coronavirus, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, no. We named Diego after San Diego, where Levi's from. So.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Now I get it. Okay, we're going to sign off. Thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate you. You're amazing. I'm so proud of you. All you've accomplished.
Thank you. I'm so proud of you and what you're doing here with the Compassion Project. It's wonderful. So keep it up, and it was lovely chatting with you, Auntie Jane.
Okay, we'll talk soon.
Okay, bye.